Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. During the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943, residents of the ghetto bravely resisted against the occupation and forced removal operations taking place in the city. The German Extremist Party rally grounds, located in Nuremberg, Germany in 1934, were the main stage for the large meetings organized by the regime. A security guard stands in front of a Korean store during the Los Angeles riots in 1992. The scene reflects the intense clashes that took over the city after the acquittal of police officers involved in the assault on Rodney King, a black motorist. This image depicts a punishment method used at the former Bilibid prison in Manila, Philippines. The instrument, known as the garrote, was used during the Spanish colonial period as an official means of carrying out capital sentences. Adolf Hitler's main office in the new Reich Chancellery in Berlin around 1939 was designed with great grandeur to reflect power and authority. Created by architect Albert Speer, the building featured extensive corridors and luxurious materials. A German civilian observes a large portrait of Joseph Stalin in downtown Berlin on June 3, 1945. The image was taken just weeks after the end of World War II in Europe, when Soviet forces occupied the German capital. Nelson Mandela raises his fists after being sentenced to life imprisonment in June 1964 during the Rivonia trial in Pretoria, South Africa. Iranian women protest against the mandatory wearing of the hijab following the Islamic Revolution of 1979. The demonstration took place in March of that year, shortly after the regime change that turned Iran into an Islamic republic. Friedrich Nietzsche is photographed during his time in an asylum in 1899. The German philosopher had suffered a mental breakdown in 1889 and spent the final years of his life under medical and family care, unable to continue his writings. The German dirigible Hindenburg flies over New York City on the afternoon of May 6, 1937, just hours before its tragic explosion in Lakehurst, New Jersey. Bags of gold and money were found hidden by the Germans in the Merker salt mine in Germany in 1945. American soldiers attend Mass amidst the rubble near the Cologne Cathedral in March 1945. The ceremony took place shortly after the city was captured by Allied forces during the final stages of World War II. A German soldier is escorted through the streets by members of the French resistance in Saint-Mihiel, France, in September 1944. The local population follows with cries and expressions of outrage, reflecting the tension and accumulated feelings after years of occupation. German soldiers play and pose casually in 1939 in the early months of World War II. The image captures a light-hearted moment among soldiers, possibly before going into action. Soldiers and sailors gather on the decks of the USS Missouri to witness the official signing of Japan's surrender, held in Tokyo Bay on September 2, 1945. A woman kisses a British soldier returning from World War II in an emotional scene captured at the end of the conflict around 1945. A stunning photograph of the Titanic departing port for the first time in 1912. The ship sailed from Southampton, England, on April 10th of that year on its maiden voyage to New York. During the London Blitz in 1940, a man dressed as Santa Claus swaps his traditional red hat for a protective helmet to deliver presents amidst the bombings. A dirigible crashed during a test in the Nevada desert in 1957 after being hit by the shockwave, generated by an experimental explosion. A U.S. Marine writes a statement on his helmet about then-President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1967 during the Vietnam War. 3 people pose for a photo wearing face masks during the second wave of the Spanish flu in California in 1918. The Tupolev Tu-2, a Soviet medium bomber developed in the 1940s, was widely used during World War II due to its speed, payload capacity, and versatility. Images of the 1970s New York reveal a city marked by intense contrasts, booming creativity, and urban crisis. During this decade, the city faced high crime rates, fiscal bankruptcy, strikes, and decaying infrastructure. During the 1973 oil crisis in the United States, the fuel shortage was so severe that traffic on the roads decreased dramatically. The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, was one of the most influential shows on American television, hosted by Johnny Carson from 1962 to 1992. Jim Jarvis, an orphan boy on the streets of London around 1880, represents the harsh reality faced by thousands of children during the Industrial Revolution. Vinkas Juška, a Lithuanian book smuggler, is remembered for secretly transporting Lithuanian language publications into Lithuania in the late 19th century. A group of children poses for the camera in 1923, known as the Rough and Tumble Gang. Wearing simple and casual clothing, they represent the energy and free-spirited nature of childhood in early 20th century urban neighborhoods. A Ford assembly line producing Model T cars between the 1910s and 1920s. During the Victorian era, bath carriages like this one were used by women on British beaches to ensure privacy when changing clothes and entering the sea. Buffalo Calf Road Woman was a Native American warrior from the Cheyenne Nation, known for her role in the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. A young samurai from the Satsuma domain is depicted in Japan between 1877 and 1880 during the final period of the traditional samurai class. Portrait of Keeps the Mountain, a member of the Sioux people, taken in 1898. Dressed in traditional attire and typical cultural adornments, he represents the dignity and strength of Native American peoples during a period of great transformation and challenges. A man poses next to an enormous container used for storing wine in the Kakheti region of Georgia in 1881. In the early years of Nintendo, around 1895, the company was exclusively dedicated to the production of handcrafted playing cards known as Hanafuda, a traditional Japanese type. Between the 1960s and 1980s, several airlines used bold advertising campaigns to attract passengers, based on the concept that the appearance and visual appeal of flight attendants could boost sales. True Wild West, between the 1870s and 1900s, reveals the everyday life of an era marked by expansion, conflict, and transformation in the United States. Graduation ceremonies in the late 1890s were significant and formal events celebrated with great enthusiasm by schools and communities. Gratitude. A family gathers in silence to say a prayer before the meal, in a scene that reflects values of unity, faith, and simplicity. A Mongolian man stands with a rifle while his horse waits beside him, captured in a color photograph representing daily life in Mongolia in 1913, during the period when the country was a protectorate of the Russian Empire. Douglas Fairbanks Jr. lifts Charlie Chaplin onto his shoulders during an event on Wall Street in 1918 as part of a campaign to promote Liberty bonds. A father and son watched the launch of Apollo 11 on July the 16th, 1969. The scene took place near the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where thousands of people gathered to witness this historic moment. Children play on a seesaw swing in 1902 in a typical scene from parks and squares at the turn of the 20th century. Adam Sandurski and Jan Falandis, Polish wrestlers, competed in the 1980 Moscow Olympics, representing Poland in the freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling competitions. Renowned writer Agatha Christie, known for her mystery novels, was also an enthusiast of surfing. In 1922, during a trip with her first husband, she learned to surf in Hawaii and other Pacific destinations. In 1963, the Bronx Zoo in New York displayed a controversial exhibit with the phrase, "the most dangerous animal in the world." As visitors approached the cage, they were faced with a mirror, revealing that the animal was the human being. In 1971, a high-rise installer works on the Harbor Bridge in Sydney, one of the largest bridges in the world. The worker in question is Paul Hogan, who would later become internationally famous as the character Crocodile Dundee. Ronald Reagan poses at the University of Southern California, USC, in 1940, having been chosen as an example of successful youth and the ideal American of the time. Marilyn Monroe is seen sitting in a chair with her ankle bandaged after suffering a sprain. The image shows the Hollywood star resting but still with her striking presence and elegant style. French children play soldiers on the front line in 1917 during World War I. Dressed in improvised uniforms and using military equipment, they built their own trench, mimicking the daily life of the combatants. A small child poses inside a wicker baby walker around the early 1900s. These walkers were widely used to help babies develop balance and mobility safely. A Polish border guard and his horse drink water from a stream in the Bieszczady Mountains during a patrol in 1980. A Tucker snowcat vehicle is seen hovering over a glacial crevasse during the 1954 Transantarctic Expedition. This historic mission was organized to cross the Antarctic continent by land for the first time. The famous image titled "World's Highest Standard of Living," taken in 1937, shows a large billboard with the phrase, "There's no way like the American way," above a smiling white family inside a car. Lithuanian school graduates relax in the sun on the bleachers of a stadium after classes. The scene conveys lightness and celebration, reflecting the conclusion of an important stage in their school life. A bottle of Coca-Cola is displayed in a cafe or kiosk in France in 1950, marking the early years of the official introduction of the drink to the European country after World War II. Hannah Stilley is often mentioned as one of the first people to be photographed, with records attributed to around 1840. A Red Cross train departs Budapest, Hungary, for Switzerland in 1947. The image was captured during the post-war period, when Europe was still facing severe humanitarian challenges. Nirvana was photographed during the photo session for their iconic album Nevermind, released in 1991. A police officer stops traffic in New York around 1925 to allow a cat carrying her kitten in her mouth to cross the street safely. The touching scene caught attention at the time for showing empathy amidst the urban hustle and bustle. The iconic Hollywood sign, shortly after its installation in 1923, originally displayed the full name Hollywood Land. Kiki Hawkinson was crowned the first winner of the Miss World contest in 1951, representing Sweden. The ceremony took place in London, originally as part of the celebrations for the Festival of Britain. An amphibious vehicle known as the Swim Mobile circulates through New York in 1960, providing a creative leisure alternative for residents during the warmer months. Robin Williams performs as a mime in Central Park in 1974, in a scene captured before his international fame. Arnold Schwarzenegger, at 16 years old, competes in his first bodybuilding competition in 1963 in Austria. The Hollywood Land sign is seen on Mount Lee in 1920, with the San Fernando Valley in the background. It was originally installed as an advertising campaign for a real estate development. India's current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, appears in a rare photo taken in front of the White House during a visit to the United States in 1994. Sean Connery signs a coconut for a Jamaican girl during the filming of Dr. No in 1962. The film marked the debut of James Bond on the big screen, with Connery playing the famous 007 agent. Ruins of the ancient Roman temple of Bacchus, located in Baalbek, Lebanon, photographed between the 1870s and 1880s. A blind Muslim man named Muhammad is accompanied by his Christian friend, Samir, who suffered from paralysis in his legs, in Darwala, Syria, in 1889.